Hey everyone, Cole here with Classic Mini DIY, and on today's episode we're going to be tackling a small job of installing a wheel speed sensor both on the front gearbox here that is going to be going to my car very soon, and the rear hub so that we can enable traction control on my Classic Mini. You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned for that. Alright, on today's episode we are going to be tackling a pretty small job, but one that is going to net quite a big benefit for me with my 16 valve build that I'm doing right now. And that is installing a wheel speed sensor. And not just one, but two wheel speed sensors. One on the front drive shaft, which you can actually see right here, and a sensor on the rear hub of my Classic Mini. Now there are a few ways to accomplish this job on a Classic Mini, but in this video I'm going to be using a kit that I've designed specifically for use on your gearbox side with the intention to provide an ultra high resolution wheel speed sensor directly driven off the front CV axle. And then I am going to be modifying my rear hub so that we can measure the wheel speed on the back wheels, and this is going to allow my Haltech ECU the ability to enable traction control. Essentially, at the most simple level, traction control is measuring the wheel speed on your various different wheels. On modern vehicles, most actually have a sensor on every single wheel. It measures the difference in those two speeds and uses that to determine whether or not it needs to adjust the power modulation that's being delivered to your wheels through the gearbox. So the beauty of moving to drive-by-wire on a Classic Mini is that it gives you the ability to essentially hand over and program the ECU to do all sorts of really cool stuff because it has direct control over the fueling, the air, timing. Every part of your engine running is going directly through that ECU, which means you can change things about the way it runs based on input information like wheel speed sensors. The majority of this configuration is done automatically from the ECU. Essentially, all you have to do is wire in your sensors and tell it that you want traction control. From there, you do have the ability to modify small settings to improve the way that it runs specifically on your car. And for those of you who are going to be using a Haltech ECU, I will be sharing the map that I'm using on my 16 valve build when we get to that stage. So keep an eye out, I'll be sharing that, and it'll include the traction control setup that I'm using on my car. Now let's take a closer look at this. I have actually already installed a sensor on the gearbox when I was doing my gearbox build. Check out those videos, which will be popping up in the corner. So as you can see here, I have designed a laser cut and bent bracket for this Hall effect sensor. This is a simple standard Hall effect sensor. It is a 3-wire sensor, and this is what's measuring, or rather registering, the teeth on this laser cut steel trigger wheel. Each time this passes by that Hall effect sensor, the Hall effect sensor is getting a square wave. Essentially, it's measuring the ferrous material that is passing by it, and it's measuring that distance. So when a tooth goes by, the square pattern goes up, and then when there's a gap, the square pattern goes back down. The ECU is measuring those and counting them to determine how fast your car is going. This is something that is calibrated in the ECU after you've got this all wired up. Essentially, that calibration process just tells the ECU how many notches are on that trigger wheel. You can also get wheel speed off of your standard gearbox output here. So you can see mine is covered because I'm going to be using this as my primary speedometer feed. In the event that you wanted to have a feed coming from your gearbox, you can also do that. You have your standard output, which looks just like this. This is actually the one that came off this gearbox. And there is a sensor which screws into the standard output and converts it into a Hall effect sensor feed. Essentially a pulsed output. And you'd calibrate this the exact same way you calibrate this one. The only difference here is that when you have it coming off of your speedometer housing, You do essentially have to calibrate whatever gears are coming off and through the speedometer housing. Those come in varying different sizes and tooth counts. So you might find that one person's calibration for this is not going to match somebody else's. That's why I moved to this wheel speed sensor directly off of the CV. So one thing I didn't mention is that this is a steel laser cut plate. This slides over your CV and will get tack welded in place. But when you do that, you are getting a direct feed of what the wheel itself is doing rather than what the internal gearbox is doing. And for traction control, that's incredibly important, especially if you have an open differential where a wheel could spin at a different speed than the other wheel, or if you're stuck in a rut, your gearbox could be spinning at a speed, but with the differential open, you're not getting all of that power maybe to one wheel or the other. So very important. Having this wheel speed sensor directly off the drive shaft is the most ideal solution. Now, this is actually a kit that I have begun carrying on the store. There were some other ones out there, but I felt they were a little too expensive. And for what it is, it's a pretty simple setup, just a simple bent piece of stainless with this Hall effect sensor, which is pretty much the most expensive part. And it's an electronic component and this simple laser cut bracket. So if this is something that you're interested in to pick up for your car, these are on the store. Right now they're open for pre-order, but we should get those in stock very soon. All right, so now that we've talked about this wheel speed sensor, let's jump to the back of the car, which is where the majority of this video is going to be spent because we have to do a little bit of modification to our rear hub in order to put a wheel speed sensor back there. All right, so here we are at the back of the car. And what you'll see here is I've got my rear drum off already. So I skipped a few steps. It's pretty straightforward though. The drum is held on by 2 bolts straight through the hub here and pops right off. If you are doing this on your own car, don't forget to remove the parking brake or turn off the parking brake. Otherwise, you won't be able to get that drum off very easily. So for this modification, we do have to take the hub off, which means that the wheel bearing is going to come apart here as well. This is a really good opportunity to go ahead and replace your wheel bearings or at least repack those bearings. Generally speaking, I do recommend just replacing these wheel bearings. Also, if you are doing a wheel bearing job on one side, I tend to do it in pairs. That way I have a definitive time when I last repaired both wheel bearings. I can mark it on the calendar and I don't get out of sync if there's any issues. If you are pretty hard on your car like I am, especially in the mountains of North Carolina where there's a lot of twisties, you are going to find that these rear wheel bearings do tend to go bad. It's just kind of the name of the game when you're putting a lot of side load on them. So we're going to quickly whip off this cover here, unbolt this hub, and we're going to slide it off. And then I'm going to show you how we install this wheel speed sensor on the rear. One thing I do want to note is that you are going to want to mark where the stud is in relation to this backside hub here. We are going to be using this hub and the notches on the back of this, your wheel studs. It will be a lower resolution wheel speed than what we have on the front, meaning that we don't have as many notches on the back of this hub. But you can get around fixing that if you want to weld on a similar laser cut hub mount. But this rear wheel speed sensor isn't as important in terms of resolution, and the ECU can pretty easily negotiate and figure out all of the differences in terms of how many notches, or rather how many teeth essentially are on the back of this hub. So anyways, let's take this off. I want to go ahead and mark where the stud is, which if we look at the back side of this, it's approximately right there. Now, something to keep in mind on these rear wheel hubs, for some vehicles, and in fact most of the minis, they were this way, this radius arm on the left side actually is righty-loosey, lefty-tighty. So if you're back here and you're just trying to winch this thing off lefty-loosey, you are going to be in for a bad time and it is not going to work. So keep that in mind when you're taking these off. So we have our hub off there, and this is a good opportunity to show you guys what I'm talking about. So on the back side of this hub here, you have your 4 wheel studs. And you can see this is a raised metal bit. We're essentially going to be using these as the teeth of the trigger wheel. So this is going to represent our trigger wheel. Because these are steel, the Hall effect sensor has a little magnet on the end, and it's measuring the ferrous material on the back of these. And that is how it's going to measure the wheel speed. So we'll see what the signal looks like, and if it's good enough for our wheel speed sensor back here. I don't think it would be good enough for things like a crank trigger position sensor or something like that, where you really need that ultra high fidelity. But I think it'll be good enough here. One other thing I realized as I took this off is that I don't have any rear wheel bearings in stock. So we are going to repack these, which I know I just told you guys is not something that I normally do. And I stand by that, but this is what I have available to me right now, and I am comfortable enough that these will be okay. Now here we are looking at the hub, and the reason I marked this spot right here is that we're going to drill a small hole, well, relatively small, for the Hall effect sensor to pass through here, and then we'll adjust that away from the actual hub to make sure that we have the right gap between them. But it's a very easy mod. All you need is the sensor itself. You don't need any other supplying modifications. One other thing I just noticed here is that this spring is upside down. We need to flip that because the hub will run on that. In fact, that might actually have been what the grinding was. All right, the hole that we're going to drill here, we want to make sure it's going to clear all of the bracketry on the back side of our hub. And also, we want to make sure that it is going to clear the brake shoes. Otherwise, we're going to be in for a bad time. Beautiful. All right, so as you can imagine, we're not going to be putting it in that direction. And we are going to want to deburr this a little bit, but the sensor is going to come in from the back side, and then we're going to adjust the 2 nuts on this to make sure that it sits just right with the hub itself. Depending on your Hall effect sensor, the distance that you need to do from your teeth is varying, but for this sensor and the ones that I sell in my kit, this is the figure that you need to gap these two to make sure that it's measuring those teeth properly. Also, some of you might be wondering how we're going to wire this all up, and I actually stubbed in a circuit for this. This is a synchronized pulse input, a 5-volt, and a sensor ground. This is what's required for the Haltech ECU to read that. Now, we're going to have to clean up all of this swarf here to make sure that that doesn't get in our bearing, because that would be bad news for us. Clean that up. All right, one more reminder, we want to make sure that there is no extra metal swarf in here, especially on the spindle itself. That is the most important part. One thing I will say is that in reality, this radius arm probably needs to be replaced at some point in the near future. That spindle is looking pretty rough. And I have been eyeballing the CAD radius arms, the aluminum ones, but they are just super expensive. So if you guys want to see me install those and show you guys how to do that, let me know. But I will have to save up some pennies before we can do that on this car. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide this back on. Take care to hold the bearing in the front. It likes to get pressed out when you go back in here. Now these rear hubs, unlike the front, do not get blasted down to 212 foot-pounds of torque. This just goes down to 60. Continues to spin nice. And I will say the grinding is gone. So it must be that that grinding was indeed that spin, or rather that spring on the bottom. Anyways, now we will start positioning our sensor here. All right, so now we have the sensor installed, and it was a lot of removing and inserting and removing and inserting this hub to make sure that we were getting the right clearance for the sensor back here. But now you can see this spins over nicely. And at this point, all we have to do is make sure that the ECU is seeing the sensor properly as well. I have wired up the sensor, Try to think about the way that the wire wouldn't get hit by the tire or anything. So what I've done is heat shrink the wires here. This will keep them consolidated. This is DR25 heat shrink. It's really, really high quality heat shrink that I got from ProWire USA. Definitely recommend checking them out. They have some really good products. But what I did is I ran it in a way that it wouldn't bind with anything. This cone doesn't have any sort of rotation, at least not in a way that would bind this. I ran it up over the subframe right here. It goes back and then up through a small hole right at the back side of the trunk here. That then is getting tucked away behind the fuel tank, but I am leaving myself enough slack to where I can unplug it in the event that I need to for whatever reason. So all that's left is we are going to spin this and see what it's showing in the ECU. So let's pull up the ECU. You should see it up in the left-hand side here. And let's see what kind of sensor feed we are getting from this Hall effect sensor with the spacing that I've done on the back side here. Ready? Here we go. All right, so it looks like we have a good clean signal, which means that we can go ahead and reinstall the drum, we can go ahead and reinstall the wheel, and we'll be off to the races. Pretty exciting stuff. All right, folks, so that is essentially how to install some speed sensors on your Classic Mini. Basically 3 different ways to do it and get a really good signal so that your ECU can enable things like traction control, feed the speedometer from the ECU instead of coming directly off that mechanical gearbox takeoff, and much, much more. If you guys have any questions about the things that I covered in today's episode, post those down in the comment section. I'm going to do my best to help you out. But that's going to wrap things up today. So until I see you guys on the next one, you know the drill. Enjoy those minis and motor on. See you guys.